An Introduction to Living Vampirism. Understanding and debunking the myths. Living vampirism is a spiritual and energetic condition that is often misunderstood due to the pervasive influence of vampire myths in popular culture. Unlike the undead creatures of legend, living vampires are human beings with unique energetic needs and spiritual practices. This essay serves as an introduction to living vampirism, explaining its core concepts while addressing and debunking some of the most common myths associated with it. What is living vampirism? At its heart, living vampirism is the practice of maintaining spiritual energetic balance through the conscious exchange or acquisition of life energy. This need arises from a subtle energetic imbalance or deficiency within a living vampire system. This imbalance is seen as to a spiritual or energetic predisposition rather than a physical condition. Living vampires exist span cultures and identities, united by their need to feed energy to sustain their vitality and overall well-being. The term living vampire differentiates these individuals from the undead vampires of folklore. Living vampires are alive, biologically human, and have no connection to the supernatural creatures popularized by stories of Dracula or other fictionalized depictions. Their experience is rooted in energy dynamics rather than the consumption of blood or immortality. Feeding energy, not blood. One of the most persistent myths about vampires is that they feed on blood. While some vampires may choose to incorporate blood into their practices as a symbolic or supplementary act, this is not a defining characteristic of living vampirism. Most living vampires feed on life energy rather than physical substances. Feeding can occur in various ways. 1. Ambient feeding, drawing energy from crowds, events, or spaces with heightened emotional or energetic activity, such as concerts or rituals. 2. Direct feeding, forming a connection with an individual and drawing energy through physical or emotional contact, often with their consent. 3. Emotional feeding, absorbing the heightened emotional energy of others, such as excitement, passion, or even anger. These methods of feeding are typically subtle, and when practiced responsibly, they are not harmful to the person providing the energy. In fact, many living vampires work to ensure that their feeding remains ethical and consensual. Living vampirism and religion. Another common misconception is that living vampirism is a religion or cult. While vampirism often incorporates spiritual practices and philosophical beliefs, it is not inherently a religion. Living vampires come from diverse backgrounds and faiths, including Christianity, paganism, atheism, and more. For some, the practices associated with vampirism are simply a way of understanding and managing their energetic needs, while others may weave these practices into broader spiritual frameworks. Living vampirism is a highly individualistic experience, and while there are communities that share knowledge and support, there is no singular religious institution associated with living vampirism. Debunking the myth of evil. One of the most damaging myths about living vampires is the idea that they are inherently evil, predatory, or malicious. This misconception stems from centuries of folklore that associated vampires with demons, darkness, and death. In truth, living vampires are no more inherently evil than anyone else. Their need to feed on energy is a natural part of their existence, much like the need for food, water, or sleep. Living vampires often strive to live ethical and balanced lives, feeding in ways that are consensual and non-invasive. Many even use their abilities to help others, such as through energy healing, emotional support, or protective work. While any individual can misuse power or act unethically, this is not a trait exclusive to vampires. It is a reflection of personal choices rather than an intrinsic characteristic. Common traits and practices. Living vampires often share certain traits and practices which can include heightened sensitivity. Many living vampires are very attuned to subtle energies and emotions, making them highly empathetic or intuitive. Energy work practices such as grounding, shielding, and energy manipulation are common among living vampires as they learn to manage their needs and maintain balance. Community and connection. While some vampires prefer solitude, others find support and understanding in vampire communities. where they can share experiences and knowledge. These traits are not universal, and the experience of living vampirism can vary widely from person to person. Conclusion: living vampirism is a nuanced and often misunderstood condition that revolves around the need to maintain energetic balance. It is not about blood immortality or malevolence, but about living in harmony with one's unique energetic nature. By debunking the myths and misconceptions surrounding living vampires, we can foster greater understanding and acceptance of this path. Ultimately, living vampirism is a deeply personal experience rooted in the exploration of energy, self-awareness, and ethical interaction with others.